Welcome. You may be wondering why somebody like me got a cross and a used Bible that I read have 666. Well, there's a truth about 666 you won't believe. Get your beer, get your chew, and get your smoke. Push the keyboard back because I'm gonna take you on a ride wide. I'm gonna show you how you can get to 666. You won't believe it. And this is gonna get really racist. Is the time I had a confrontation with the KKK. I had several confrontations, but I'm gonna tell you about this one, and I'm gonna also tell you about my ex. I'm not gonna mention any of their names though, but this is gonna teach you how to pray and how to ask for stuff. Newsflash spoiler: God don't care nothing about glory. Honestly, He don't. So let's get ready. One day I had stopped in this town and this girl was talking to me, and she asked me for her number. See, I just came out of a relationship maybe 2 years ago with my wife. And it seemed like every woman that came, they did the exact same thing to come in my life that she did. Okay? And at first I would tell them that I didn't want them, but I just felt like I just took the number. Okay? And I gave her mine. I said, when she called me, I'm just going to ignore her. That's all it is, too. I'm just not going to ignore her. Here, after she called me once or twice, they realized I don't want to talk to them and they stopped. Okay? You may be saying, well, you're fat, and whatever. So I was walking and I saw these two owls. They had came out their nest, I guess because I was close enough to their nest that that was a threat. And at that threat, they were just looking at me. And I was like, what a cute couple. I wouldn't mind being a cute couple one day. And I said, but how can I be a cute couple with all these evil women coming up to me? So I looked up, and it was a beautiful cloud sky, it was blue, crystal blue. The sun was out and clouds was in it. And I said, God, don't send me anybody you don't want. And I just kept on walking. And I really didn't think about it for 2 years. I was like, dog, I must really be messed up. Nobody coming up to talking to me. And I remember when I saw this bird, this crow go past, I said, y'all remember them owls? I said, oh, I said, God, don't send me anybody you don't want. And I said, is that bad? That's all I was laughing at it. And I was like, wow. If you actually pray for something you want, you will possibly get it. How about $1 million? Never got it, but I got $1 million, but it came in very small portions like everybody else. So I was like, wow. But anyway, time went by and I was driving. I was getting to this point now where I would get a little meaner than what I was, but I was still about the same person, because working a job is just barely getting anywhere. And one day I stopped. I was coming through this town. I stopped at this place, this in a restaurant, and I saw a truck back there, but there wasn't nobody in it. So I went in and I popped out the truck. I said, "Well, I want a homemade burger and fries." I could have went down to the truck stop. The usual truck stops where they got the patties and stuff like that. No, I wanted some meat. I wanted somebody to. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That's what I want. I want to. That's what I was thinking about. And then, but I was like, I ain't finna stop there because I was like, I don't feel like no problem. And somebody said, but for some reason, I went on and pulled on in there. It was cars. There was a lot of cars there, but it was just and you see, it was like real room for trucks. And they had diesel back there too. It was just some. I'm just thinking, well, this some mom pop star. I'm gonna give me a good old a hot cheeseburger, a real one, not some processed meat, but some. Some antibiotic meat. Shoot, the American antibiotic meat. That's what I was thinking. So I walked to the door, and like I always do. When I come to small towns, I make sure that I'm welcome. So I find a head. It's always a head guy in charge. This head guy was this cook. He was this white guy. Everybody knows racist are white. Now I said it's finna get racist. So I just stopped and I just stared at him. And you know how you stare and he turned and you like he looked me up and down. He knew what I was looking at. The waitress there pretty much probably thinking it was his wife, because she just looked at me like, why are you looking at my husband like that? And he did this. See, men know what, in the bro code, you know what that is. The man, you walk to a place, you look for the head man in charge. You stir at him. And then he turned around, he'll get to do this. Because I got this before. Okay, I walked in and I just turned around and walked on off. Okay? We just know how it is. But he did this, I'm welcome in his place. Okay? And it was another, a handful of foreigners there. They were just shopping and stopping. They were speaking in different languages and stuff. I went over to the restaurant and sat down. I'm thinking about this. He looked like he finna cook up a good greasy one too. You know what I'm saying? And I would put all the ketchup on it. And I heard it from my left side, stupid nigger. That caught my attention, so I looked. And I looked them up and down. I was like, now pay attention, because this is going to show you how to pray. Because this is what led me there. I looked them up and down, and I looked through the whole entire thing, and I looked through the whole entire thing, and I saw this pastor over there, and I stared at him, and I said, and I looked at him, and I looked around everybody, and another person said, "Dumb nigger." And I looked, and I stared, and I squished my eyes at him. I said, "If their church will cause you to sin, cut it loose, for it's better for their Congress to perish than you to perish with them." He looked up and his face drained to a shade of white I had never seen before. It looked like he was about to die. It looked, when I said it, because he kind of had a smirk on his face, but that smirk failed. And his wife gave me a stern look and grabbed his hand. And I said, "God," and I told him, "God trusted you. Look what you did." Talk about me. But what did he do with Satan? He trusted Satan too, didn't he? And that's when he put his fork in, and he just leaned back and looked. And then I said this, and I looked at him, and they said, "Dad, you ain't got to target him." I said, "Why not?" God trusted him. And look what he do, God, in return. He's giving him all of that. He said, "Watch my sheep. Watch my people." And you turned on him. Just when you thought it was good, the getting was good. I wouldn't trust you ever again. And then they started looking. They got quiet then because they were confused. They were like, "I never heard anybody say it like that." You traveling in that truck. They must have stopped here for a reason. They got quiet for a minute. And the others, when one of them said, "Listen to that nigger," then he said, "Don't listen to that nigger." And they said, "You shut up." People just started talking in. And I just looked at that pastor again. I shook my head. I said, "Well, one thing for sure, Pastor, you know how God get everybody." And he just looked. He never said anything. He gets you by not saying nothing. See, he gives you his stuff, gives you his orders, and say, "Go take it to my people." Because see, God is a king. What the kings always do. And this young white boy, he always send representatives. And I said, exactly. Okay, I'm not gonna get into the full tussle, but I was winning. But for some reason, I wanted to leave, but I couldn't leave. And the bar owner, he pretty much popular owner of the place, he walked over and he looked at everybody. Most of the other people got quiet too. And we went in for a little bit longer, and this old guy, you could tell this dude right here, he just ran, his green eyes ran out. He just did this. Everybody just stopped. I stopped and I just looked at him because I could feel the power off of him. He gets up, and these two girls, young women, they say, "Pa, wait a minute." And he goes, "Leave me alone." It's like he's old. I would say he's probably 80 or 90 years old. He was really old. And he got up and started walking to me. Yeah, I was thinking, I should have left. But I had to sit here and run my mouth. Okay. So, but I kept my stern. I just felt this hand on me. Just said, "Calm." And I was calm, and I looked at him. He walked up to me. And I kept my eye on him. But he didn't look at me. He just walked. Like he was finna walk past me and then stop. And then he took $100 and put it on the table. And he asked me this question. He said, tell me straight, will God forgive me? And everybody said, no, God forgives all. I said, forgive me everything. God forgives all. And I looked at him, I said, do you want me to tell you the truth or you want me to tell you a lie? Tell it to me straight, boy, is what he said. Seemed like his voice cracked a little bit. And she was like, this lady, probably like 50. She was looking at me like, you better tell him he's okay. But I looked at him and I said, and I looked him down, I said, God is going to protect heaven against me, you, or anybody. That's why he never says anything. Just like that pastor I told you. He gave the pastor his wealth, his power, and said, protect my people and lead them in the way he's supposed to. And I see a tear come out of his eye. He looked like this is the type of guy that he looked like he was defying death itself. He looked like this was this powerful white guy that nothing can stop. And no matter how old and how much in pain he would just fight through the pain. And when the tear came out, he looked like somebody that should never cry. And the older lady, that 50-year-old, looked like she's about 50. She was like, Pa. Like she never saw him cry before. And what he told me, he was like, you want to hear a funny story? And I was like, I didn't want to hear it at all, really. I was hoping he'd move, to be honest with you. But he was like blocking the path. And even though he was old, he don't look like somebody you can actually just defeat. That's how powerful he looked. And I was like, what is it? He said, back in my younger days, me, my pa, and a bunch of us, we would look for nigger bitches. And we'd sit there and watch them nigger bitches with them little nigglets around. And we would think how funny it would be to mess their world up. So these nigger bitches and these little nigglets was running around, they had this nigger that was taking care of them. Every day we'd sit there and watch this nigger get up and go look for whatever work he can get and come back home. Bring the food and money back home. Well, what we would do, when that nigger would get up and leave, we would follow him. And then we'll surround him. And we'll take him, beat him, hang him, kill him. Have just a lot of fun. And we'll go back to where that nigger bitch was at. And we'll watch this nigger bitch panic. And then we'll wait for about 10 or so days and then walk over to that nigger bitch and say, well, we saw him go across the river. He escaped. And she would just break. And we did that to a bunch of them nigger bitches. Just for them to survive with their family, they'll come and do whatever we want. And we had fun with them nigger bitches. And one thing for sure, we never told those nigger bitches we killed that nigger that was with them. That story was funny to me up until now. And then he looked at me and I said, God is going to protect the people of heaven. That's why he never said nothing to you. Tears just flowed from his face, then he shook his head, he nodded his head and walked on. After that, a bunch of people just gathered and just started walking. The younger one was just staring at me and they walked out. And three other ones, these like three younger white boys said, I still don't like you niggas. And then finally the cook said, get out of my place and don't come back. He said, well, we saw get out, is what he said. So I looked at the $100 bill and I gave it to the waitress. Okay, I wasn't gonna take that. He said, your burger ready, but I don't think you go eat it. He said, I'm not gonna eat that. Well, I ain't do nothing to it. So I took it anyway. Yeah, I threw it away. I went down there and got me a sub sandwich when I was trying to prevent as I was driving off. So at this point in time, I'm thinking about that time I said, don't send me anybody else you don't want. That's why I remember that prayer that I told God. I didn't pray anything else because I realized how powerful prayer is, and I really didn't want to say nothing that would cause a big problem. So I decided, but I did decide to say something. I prayed this. I said, because I couldn't get these white people out of my mind. And I was like, God, why did you, I'm going through, how did you, can you show me how and why you gave them this power? And I forgot about it. And then one night, I wasn't asleep. I don't think I was asleep. I was just sitting on the bunk. She showed up. Now this is a silhouette of a woman that I always see. She's been seeing her throughout my life. She's always like a shadow. Remember that. It's a reason why she always look like a shadow. This was in the Bible. Okay. And she walked in and she put her hand out. And it do the same. Every time she always put it. I don't know why I fall for this. I always reach for her hand, she pull it back. And then we wind up somewhere. So we wind up back to the place to where I was born. Instead of always going back to the same address, the same house where I grew up in. And we were walking through the rooms. And then we went out to the backyard. And I'm just following her because I'm like, wondering what the heck I'm following you for? Why are we sitting here walking through here? And when we walked through there, it was 6 men all bowing down to this. I don't know what this was. It was like a case or urn or something. And I just sit there and looked at him, and she looked at me. She did this, and then she did that. So I walked over to him. I walked to the first guy. He said he prayed for peace and prosperity for him and his people. Nothing strange there. Walked to the next one. He prayed for a great harvest and bountiful blessings for his people. Too good too. Walked to 3. He said he wished for health and prosperity and wealth for him and his people. And then went to 4. He said, I wish for knowledge. I wish for inventions to make the life better for me and my people. I said, And then I went to 5. I was like, I checked out for everybody else. Everything seemed just checking out. And he said the same thing. He was in a bountiful harvest. He put for better housing, to build better houses, the strength to agriculture better. He has more people. He wants to feed them better, more. He doesn't want poverty. Check. Number 1 was good, 2 was straight, 3 was all right, 4 was good, 5, and then we got to 6. And 6, he was just silent. And now he was like, I wish for the power to destroy my enemies. I looked at him like, who the heck is your enemy? There's no enemy here. No one's attacking you. Okay? I want you to conquer and destroy. What? Dude, you're crazy. Don't want to be around you. Everybody checked off except for you. Check 6 on the battery, but I ain't do that. So I walked back to her, and she did this, and she did that. And I turned around, and this dude this 6 had a sword in his hand. Okay? And he had like these monsters behind him, these mechanical, they weren't monsters, they were like machines, like androids almost. You know, like, and everybody else was still praying, and light was on all of them, except for him. You know, I turned back and walked in and said, I ain't going over there, that fool crazy, like he crazy. And she said, and then she did this again. So I turned around, and this dude is attacked. Oh, he had everybody in chains and enslaved. I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he had gold. He was dressed in gold and diamonds and silver. And you get close, and he was like, more. That's all he was saying was more. And then I turned and looked at her, and she said, she whipped her hair and did this. And I turned around, and he had the women of all the races doing all sorts of acts for him. And then I turned out like, what the heck? And she did this again. And the woman, he had this wife with him, and she was just as diabolical. I was like, what the heck? And then I just kept staring at her, and she did this. She stomped on the floor twice. I turned and looked at her, and she did. And I turned around and looked, and he died. And he was dragged off to this place of horror. And this other guy, I would say the other six, sat there and walked on and watched him get tormented, and then walked back on and they started tormenting everybody else. And then he was doing the same thing, and then he died, and then tormented. He was dragged off. He saw all the ones that were doing what he was doing kind of get dragged off to forever torment, but he wouldn't. But they just kept on just taking over. They wouldn't stop. And you walk up to him, more. I want more. I want more. And like in this one, this final time that I was looking at, this new sixth guy that took over, he had the treasures was just bleeding over. He didn't have anywhere to put it, and it was just bread that was given to everybody. He just reached over everybody and took the bread, and then he tasted it and said yuck and threw it, and watched everybody else starve. I was like, wow. Like I told you, this is rough, but this is how the power came. It was prayed for, and I was like, well, why God ain't doing anything? And she did this. God is watching. This is for the benefit of heaven. It was written on. She didn't speak, but it was like written on why this is for the benefit of heaven. Now, it has this benefit in heaven. There's not going to be another Satan. That's why. This is what we're here for. I was like, oh. And then as I turned around, it was like I just stood up where I was. I was like, man, I wasn't sleeping. It was like, where was I? I was like, dang. You got to watch what you pray for. Because you may get something you want and then find out in the end you really didn't want it in the beginning. Prayer is tough. It's not about glory. You're going to see. This is about the benefit of heaven. Okay? So, now, this is why, the camera. This automatic camera, 666. This is how I got to it. This is where I actually found the truth. This is not the mark of the beast. You finna find out. It's not evil at all. It has nothing to do with anything satanic. It's not Satan. It's not the number or anything. But one thing and one thing only. It does have something to do with things. But it's not evil. So after that ordeal, it was about a month or maybe a year I went through. Now, I was about, not a month, but about a couple of months to a year. I can't remember exactly. But I saw this thing on Apple Music. And they had like 666 on there. And it's something about some music, not 666 Mafia. I remember them. Then I started thinking about 666 Mafia. And then I looked at this, and then I was like, I typed it up on YouTube, and they started talking about the Illuminati and all that stuff. I was like, and they were talking about 666. I was like, I wonder would this work again. I prayed again. I said, God, could you tell me the truth about 666? And of course, I know the weight. And the reason I'm going through this is because I want you to do it yourself. I want you to take my word for it. I want you to do it yourself. So, at this point in time, I was waiting. And just as usual, I was sitting down. I wasn't asleep. I was just calm. I was really calm. And she showed up. While I was sleeping, she came up the stairs and she just looked at me. I knew she's been there. She's been there my whole entire life. I always see the silhouette of this one woman. all the time. Remember that one woman. Don't never forget her. Because I'm going to show you an alternate of it. And I stood up. I was like, what's going to happen? And she did 6. I was like, what? And she did this and it came across in white. That's why I got the white one. Because she wrote it, when she wrote it, I didn't see what it was. And she did it and it just lit up with light. I said, oh, yeah, I asked what 666 is. And I'm thinking she's going to give me her hand. And she said, I couldn't see her face, but I could swear I could see her teeth and she's smiling. But I couldn't see it. I just felt it. And she did this. And I did this, I said, and she did like this. And before I knew it, we were moving fast. Okay? Watch your dirty mind. I mean, we were going fast. I mean, we zipped up over everything. Over the earth. We went so fast. It was like we was over the sun. And I was looking, I was looking down at the sun. I was like, what the heck? And I was looking out, I could see the planets. And I was like, wow. And she started spinning around, almost like a ballerina or something. She was spinning there and she started spinning real fast. I was like, what the heck is she doing? And it was, I thought we were moving fast at first. She gyroed us all the way past. Tire belt and everything. We were moving so doggone fast. I said, whoa. But I could see everything. It's like we were moving fast, but we weren't. It was like, and we zipped past Earth. I just saw everybody. They were like walking like this. That's how people were moving on Earth. And I was like, I could even see inside the Earth. I would be past Jupiter. I could see Jupiter has ground. I couldn't remember everything, but I remember that because I focused on it. They said Jupiter, you'll go from one side. No, you won't. Okay, I could see inside of every planet. It was like, how am I doing this? But I could remember I could do this, but I kept forgetting that I could do this. It was like I was having this little tussle going on the side of me. I was like, I remember this. This like fast. And I was behind. I was like, we're going fast. But the guy took over me. I can go faster, but I couldn't go faster. I was like, I wonder, And then I started remember something. I remember her. Maybe, did she used to climb on my back? Or something? I'm thinking, I'm having all these thoughts going through my head as I see everything around us. Pluto is a planet, everything, and all the rest of them. Okay, the planet. Now I'll tell you about it later. And we went right past everything until we got to this huge black hole, and we stopped. And I could see others going in it, and I'm like, this looks familiar. But the human part of me was like, better not go in there. And then I looked. She was just sitting there. She was looking for something. I don't know what she was looking for. So I stared off, and I noticed a white hole. It was a ways off, but I was like, we get there in a minute. As fast as we can move, we'll get there. Because it's like I could zoom in and see, but I don't know how I was doing it. I didn't pay attention to it at first, but I could see like these beautiful stuff in that white hole. Oh, the doggone camera. Anyway, I could see, she turned around and said, come on. I said, she looked at me and said, I said, let's go to the one that looks like it's pleasant. That don't look pleasant. And she did this. She said, white hole. She didn't say. She just pointed up and then she pointed down. Oh, it's an elevator. That's what I thought. Naturally, to understand this, white holes go up and down. They warp you up and down. Now, the black holes, what they do, black holes spit you this way and that way. It's like a left or right, or like in this formation type of thing. You move in that direction. And the white hole goes up and down. Well, I didn't want to go down, so I was like, well, we're going to, well, let's go. Where we going? She did this like she was telling me what. I said, yeah. You never speak to me. she just chuckled, and then we went into the black hole. Remember when I told you we were going fast? Boy, NASA, if you're listening to this, you are a complete and utter liar. You know that. You can go like 100 times past the speed of light. You know that? You never left Earth, so okay. But anyway, we were going so fast, but it was like we were going so fast, but I could see everything. It was like it was like, but it was like wow. It was like someone was telling me like I did this before plenty of times, but others was telling me like this is too fast. NASA would never believe this because they can't. They can't do it. That's why they won't believe. So we were going extremely fast. It was like we were going past universe after universe after universe. And then we came to this place, I would say in the center. And this place looked magnificent, but it was a shadow. It's like everything around me was shadowy. And I'm like, whoa, I better watch this shadowy thing. But it's a reason why. And then as we stopped, we landed, it was a whole lot there. It was shadowy figures everywhere. But it was also humanoid figures as well. Not just this, but other humanoids. They were flying in on these type of ships. I was like, what the heck? They were different humanoids. They were there for some type of celebration or something like that. And they were pulling in. And they looked at me and kind of garfed, but they kept on walking. And I heard one of them say this. That's one of them 666ers and kept on walking. I was like, well, I found out what it is even. And then they said something else about some other numbers that they were there too. Because we were all, because everybody who flew in with, they had the one person or they had three. Be careful. It's a big difference between 1 and 3. You don't want 3. If 3 is around you, you're in trouble. But you finna find out because it's getting close. So we were walking in there. And we started walking in. And I swear it was some people from our Earth. But this is not Earth. This place is actually called Eden. You're going to learn that too. We walked up there and they were like, we could like see, but they were ignoring me. They weren't saying anything. It looked like they just had their business face on. And others was in other places, they looked like gritty, like they just wanted some type of help. But I couldn't remember them. All I could remember was the other side. And I was like, we came to this place and we sat down, and this other guy came up in there and said, 666. And then he looked at her. She didn't say anything. She just looked at him. What you doing with just one? And then he looked at me and said, for real? They normally bring, never mind. And he walked off. I'm going to tell you why. Well, that's bad. It's real bad. Okay? So we all got some type of numbers or something, so we were waiting. So we went over there. They let me and another couple of others go over there. We had to eat, but the ones that had the 3, they didn't let them eat. They didn't want to eat anything anyway. They were just drinking something. We ate. I was able to watch the TV. I can somewhat remember the TV shows that was on there. They were it was like they were uncut, no cut scenes. Like, cause I was into. I don't watch TV because all the cut scenes in there. It's just boring. I can't stand when I'm watching a scene and then they go to a commercial and come back 4 other scenes and then that was great. I can't stand it. But I'm gonna get more in detail about the people that I was talking to on another video. But still, we waited there for a while, and then they came to me and said, "You want to go see them now, or you want to wait till other people?" I said, "We can wait till other people. It's nice here." She just looked at me, and now we ordered some food, and we sat down. And we sat down there. But I talked. She didn't say anything. Other shadowy figures walked up and said something. Said, "Hey, how you doing?" And they stared at me for a minute and just walked off. And I was like, "Somebody, and I told her, you don't have to hang in." She just looked at me. She didn't say anything. I said, you don't have to stay here because I don't want to get you in trouble with anybody. She just looked. She didn't say anything. I didn't see any. It's almost like she had a concerned look on my face, but I couldn't see it because it was shadowy. Because she could have been saying, well, yeah, yeah. No telling what she was telling. Okay. And then there was 2 other shadowy females. They walked over and they sat down. They just looked at me. They just kept looking. They didn't say anything. And one kind of like reached over, but she did this and pushed her hand back. Like, and then when she did this, like all the other shadowy figures just stopped and turned and looked at her. And she said, ooh. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know who they are. And I saw two men standing. They looked at me, but they just looked for a second. And they just walked off. And then they stopped and turned and looked back again. They walked off again. And trying to recall everything, but I know I couldn't talk to the shadowy figures, but the other humanoids. And they were like, man, they had this. They tried to outdress everybody. They were dressed up like gods and goddesses. I mean, almost like they didn't have nothing on. They were trying to look so good. I mean, it's just a fashion show. There, I'd be like, this could never happen where I can. They'd be like, I don't think anybody should be doing it now. I'm actually making fun of Earth in front of everybody. They were like, they complain about that. They be fighting over that. They want to haul you up. And everybody like, God, I was like, shh. I wish I didn't have to go back. I see it, and like everybody turned around and looked. And so we went outside and sat there and we watched this shadowy sky, which it actually looked good though, but you could tell it looked good, but it looked like I couldn't see it. But I wanted to see it. Everything was like I wanted to see or I remembered it, but it was all shadowy covered. And you finna find out because it's my turn. We were there for maybe a day. And the thing is, I never got sleepy. And when I went in there, I think we got sleepy for a minute. We dozed off for a second. And I think I almost leaned over on her. That's when I woke up because she moved. She moved and I went, and I woke up. And then I didn't get sleepy anymore. But, and then I really wasn't sleepy at all. And then I went in there. So we went into this room and all the other humanoids were standing over there. That pretty much like I said, you finna find out who they were. Okay? You're not gonna like it. You really ain't gonna like it. You're gonna find out all the humanoids that I can see and the others I can see too. So it was my turn. I walked past one guy and I knew he was from Earth. I remembered his face, but every time I try to recall, I can't remember it. But I know who he is. And he walked out like he just made the deal of the century. He had a grin on his face, and the same three was following him. One was in front and one was there. And I was like, dude. And I looked at him, and I looked at him as he walked past. He had a chain around his arm. But he was walking like he was in stride. I was like, they finna take him off the hill, and he looked happy. Now he's going back home. And I looked up, and I was like, who said that? I did. And then this shadowy figure came out it was a man and a woman. They were holding hands. They were walking out. And I was like, you got him on chains? Yeah, he's marked as a beast. I said, oh, what is that? And he said, just give me some time. He reached his hand out and did this. And as I was looking, he did this. And pretty much like that. And this stuff stopped coming out of the ground. And it started surrounding him and the woman he was with. Okay, my intention was to get out of there now. I really, you know something, we can have whatever discussion that there was. You can keep it. I don't want it anymore. I just want to know one thing. And then before he knew it, he looked at just like us, people here on this planet. And I was like, and he looked at me and he said, is there anything you want to ask me? I said, no, I was getting ready to leave, to be honest with you. You came here, and then his wife said, you came here for a reason. Yeah, I did. Until you put skin on, I'm finna go. That's what you said that you put skin on me. And she was like, well, we have to put this skin on us because you can't look at us. You are us, but you have that on. But that body on. If you looked at us, or even yourself, your eyes will explode, and it will and your head will melt. If we talk to you as of such, your company, she doesn't speak, or even if you look at her much, it's because if she spoke to you, your ears will blow up, taking your head with you. Pretty much, your body would go. That flesh body would go, but not. but you would actually still feel pain now once you coming about it. Okay. I was like, oh, and I was like, and then she was like, well, I was like, I can actually kind of like see your nips. I'm gonna be honest. We dress like this. We've always dressed like this here. Everybody's like, it's like you having a conflict because of where you come from. We know all about where you come from. I said, okay, all right. All right, and I said, and you two are married because I see this ring. Y'all have a ring. Yeah. And he said, actually, I got two other wives. There they go over there. It said, oh, you couldn't do that where I come from. They would complain and whine about everything going on. We know. So and then the man said, what do you want from us? I was like, it's 666 me. It's 666 evil. He just laughed and he was like, well, how you gonna get to 667 if 666 is evil? And I was like, guess you can throw a rope. And then he was like, how you gonna get back to 665 if 666 is evil? And then he looked at me, he said, 666 is who you are. Who, me? No, they said, no, that's the mark of the beast. No, there's no mark of the beast. And then he pulled these chains back out. He said, this is the mark of the beast. Okay? They mark you as a beast. There's no mark of the beast. So I said, what's 666? It said, it's the sector you all in. You're in sector 666. So you mean all these all these rituals and all this hopping up on one leg and all, it's all for nothing. They do everything for nothing. Okay? So let me explain it to you. Okay? I'm going to explain this all to you. There's not going to be another Satan, is what they told me. So God let you, he made this place, okay, which is where you Eden, but they call it, and I said, well, they call it earth. He said, no. In the beginning, God made heaven, which is the place, earth, and he stumped on the ground, which is the foundation, okay? The place you're from is called Eden. It's sector 666. That whole entire place is sector 666. There's nothing evil about 666. Okay? You give him, what happened when you give a man a sword? He stabbed someone. What happened when you gave him a gun? He shot him. Now put it together. You gave him a gun, he had a sword and he had a gun, he got in the car, what did he do? He shot you from the car. He cut you from the car. Put him on a horse, what did he do? Cut you from a gun. Oh. Cut you from the horse and shot you from the horse. The elephant, he stomped you, put it from the I'm trying to say, oh, okay, I'm understanding. Now, I hope you understand it too. Put him on the train, what happened? He shot you from the train and cut you from the train and ran you over from the train. You get it? You put him on a boat. He shot you from the boat. He put you in a plane. He said, and shot you from the plane. Everything mankind touches, they turn it evil. But it's still not evil. They just make it to be evil. For some reason, they always looking for something evil there in 666. I'm starting to think the place is cursed, to be honest with you. So 666 is evil? No. It has zero power at all. You're sector 666. This is the sector you're in. Remember when you were talking about the white hole, they were pointing up and down? Those goes up to other levels like 1, 2, 2. Okay? You see like that? Stuff like that. 0, 0, and stuff like that. This right here takes you amongst the sector like 1, 1, 1. When you hit the black hole, you can go from 1, 1, 1 to 2, 2, 2 to 3, 3, 3 to 4, 4, 4 to 5, 5, 5 to 6, 6, 6 to 7, 7, 7, 8, 8, 8 to 9, 9, 9, and 10, 10, 10, and so on. It's several. I'm like, how many? I can't tell you that. Oh, okay. And I was like, well, so everybody here, so all these sectors are, so you have all these sectors, not all of them are here anymore. And I was like, what happened to him? And he looked directly at me. His silence told me the truth. We're headed the same direction. And I was like, oh. But he didn't tell me because he couldn't tell me. Because see, we still have a chance to turn it around. But our rich, they ain't paying taxes either. They have gotten beyond themselves. Okay? They think everything is just fluff. So why is God giving all these rich people all this money and power? Because actuality, check this out. Some of the rich people are actually gods. But they are untested gods. So God is giving them the wealth. And he's giving them all this power, but he's giving them something that messed them completely up. Silence. See, God don't want to watch you. Okay, he's not like these rich people like how truckers are. They putting cameras in everybody's face. He ain't finna do that. And then I was like wondering, well, what about Adam and Eve then? God didn't know what Adam and Eve was. God is the Most High is a respectful God. And then who are you? I'm a God. I'm the God of this. I'm the God of all these sectors here. Okay. Oh, don't tell the pastors. That's what I told. I said, a lot of pastors that walked out of here, they just looked at me like and called. Someone even called me evil. But did they ever? They never paid attention to the Bible. God said, "Have no other God before Him." I am a God appointed by God. I am a Holy Ghost, what they would call a Holy Ghost God. This is my wife. She's a Holy Ghost goddess. We even tell him that God has a wife, and and a lot of them told us, no, they don't. I'm like, where are you all getting all this stuff from? Then? And then they started, some of the pastors that came here would preach to us, and then as you saw all the rich people, they come here just for ideas and technology, and they get these ideas and technologies and they leave. And I'm like, well, they're supposed to give it to the people. Yeah, they're supposed to. They don't. 666 is out of control. It's not the number 666. It's the inhabitants of 666 that are out of control. And then I was like, but what about the other? What about these others? Well, these are the ones that have pretty much excelled. That's why you can see them, because they're actually like you. They just live longer. They live better. They actually populate their whole entire what you would call galaxy. What do you mean? What you would call galaxy? Where is Earth? Earth is in heaven. I mean, I'm not now. Well, let me rephrase this. Where is Eden? The Eden that I live on. Where is in heaven? We never left. So all them people there in Eden or Earth or whatever they want to call it, we never left heaven. No. Then I said, well, where is hell in heaven? So everything is in heaven. Everything is in heaven that we have. It's in heaven. Why is hell in heaven? Because God created it. We built it. Why? What the? I was like, why? I said, well, what rhymes with hell? I said, jail. Exactly. What do you see going on in Sector 666 with all them rich people? We have to have a place to put them because they can't walk around here. Oh, they know not what they do. They don't. They don't care what they do. They don't care until it catches up to them. And I'm like, okay, So what about all these? So all these galaxies are every place is inhabited. Not in some of them not anymore. Why? Why? Because I just asked you that, didn't I? Can you answer? He said no. Why? Because I can only tell you so much. You're not gonna remember everything that you see here anyway. I said, and I can't tell you that because those gods there, those rich people are gods. They are on trial. If anything is said to them, then they'll make the trial. It's like this: God has silence. Because if you think no one's watching you, you're gonna do more of what you want to do. You're gonna be who you are. So God has silence. He doesn't say anything. So they become worse and worse and worse. Or you become better and better and better. That's why he left those words. He said heaven and earth will pass away, but his words. Okay, heaven and earth will become anew. In other words, like your skin. It becomes anew. But no matter how new heaven becomes and how new earth becomes, his words going to always remain. As you see now, as you are pretty much an earthling or pretty much what I said in Delian, you pass away all the time. Huh? Your skin keeps on, even your heart, all your cells die off and shed anew. Heaven and earth will become a new, will pass away and become a new. But the words and the laws will remain the same. I said, we're in trouble. Hey, how much trouble am I in? Not much. You've done some stuff. I don't talk about that. We don't, because you stopped. And a lot of times, whatever get you in trouble, you just remove yourself from it. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so you're pretty much okay. That's why you have her. See, come on up here. She looked at me. She just looked, and the other lady, the lady, his wife said no. I said, oh, I was just gonna get married and stay here. And she said, look, get back onto what you were doing. I said, how can I take some of these fashions back? Well, I can't use these fashions back on. My body's total. And she said, yeah. That was to feed all the people. They look like they fed only me. That's what I said. And everybody started laughing, but okay, I joked about a lot of stuff. I was there, and she was like, "No, you got the cure. That just comes from the stuff that they put in the food." But I said, "Well, I can't afford the cure. They charge the cure back, like maybe 1,000%. That's what we're talking about. Those were gods that were supposed to hand it out to you, and they didn't. They took your houses and they raised the price on everything when they were supposed to lower it. And they wonder why they wind up how they wind up. Can y'all stop them? No. Unfortunately, we can't say anything to them. They can continue to do it. Well, from 1 to 100, they only have like 100 years to do it. And then they're stopped permanently. Well, they're trying to live to 150. She said, no. Only a handful are allowed to live for 150. And they're not allowed to do that. You cannot do that by chopping people's body parts up and keeping them for yourself. You shouldn't tell them because they're going to do it even more now. That's in your. They have to learn how to utilize the brain. The brain can be activated, but they're not allowed to do that. Oh, but they're trying to go to Mars and Venus and all this stuff. I don't see how they can. They can't do that. They're not going there. Why? We're gonna shoot them out the sky. And I was like, and she started looking wicked. Then I was like, you gonna shoot them out? They're not allowed to leave. They are too reckless, far beyond too reckless. Do you actually think if they came here, what would they do? You know what everybody from 666 asked for? Weapons, money, and wealth. Unlike you. You and a handful of others, you just came here for a little bit of knowledge. Oh, yeah. So is there anything else you want? I'm scared to ask you now if I even remember. You scared it out of me. Well, she actually did. She said, what would you like to do then? I would like to stay here a little while longer. If you all don't mind. Of course. The games are getting ready. You want to go to the games? Of course. Can I go to the games? Can I? She's good company. Yeah. No, they can come with you too. Okay, cool. Go and eat some of that good food and go watch the games and stuff like that. And she said, but you got to come back here before you go to leave. Because you're leaving with them. It's 3 of them. Well, no. You know something? I don't have to go to the game. I can just go home, to be honest with you. I just wanted to watch the game. You know something? You just like, what was the name of that company? I couldn't remember Microsoft's name. All I want to do is play the game. And you show up and just mess it up. He was like, hey, that's my wife. I was like, I just want to watch the game, man. No. Everybody was too busy laughing at me because I misinterpreted the whole thing. Everybody who come there still has to go and see the hills. And yeah, I said the hills with an S. 666, Earth, Milky Way, we got 3 of them. Thanks a lot, rich folks. But anyway, after they explained it to me, everybody had to go there anyway, no matter how good. Is that she was not allowed to go there because she's pretty much angelic. She can't go there. Okay? I'm like, oh, I don't want her to go there anyway. And they like, and she was like, and she looked at me, his wife said, oh God. No, she needs to stay here. If I have to teach that, I deal with it. Okay, I do it. I deal with it. Do I get to have the marker? See, this is the marker. Do I have to take the marker? No, you don't have to take it. Unless you don't want to get pulled off, then you might want to change it. I'll take one of these chains right here because I don't want to get pulled off. They can pull me back. You don't need that. So, all right. I said, okay. So, I was introduced to the better races, the level 3, the level 5 societies and stuff like that, man, it was amazing. I mean, wow. I was like, I remember watching NASA because I watch a lot of NASA, watch a lot of CNN and Fox News, and I remember them saying we're cavemen with cell phones. I said, cell phones. This what you call a cell phone? I was like, all the technologies and stuff like that. I was like, wow. And to find out one thing, everybody keeps saying God is flubbed. I remember we went to this comedy show, and this comedian, of course, singled me out. I can't remember. If I could recall it, I'll bring it up on another show. But I remember him saying, he looked at me and said, "Oh, you're a triple sixer, huh? 3-6, 3-6." He was like, 6. He was looking at me, and he looked at me and said, "Double, double, Doyle and Tell." I said, "What?" He said, "Double, double, Doyle." Everybody started laughing at me because I was like the ignorant one and stuff like that. She gave them a stern look. They stopped. But he was like, "I'm just playing like you. Double, double, boy, is magic. You know the same thing you use. Yeah, you put the nuke of I and nuke of the and then right there, and then it's magic. And then you put it on there and the beast come alive." I'm like, huh? You go and pay for it at the pump. You take a couple dollars, you put it, you give it to another person, they push a button, and they go double, 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 and tell me your car come alive, don't it?" He said, "Dude, magic is the same thing as science. God is a scientist. When you think everything is being made." Uh, okay. Touche. He's right. And he said a bunch of stuff. I can't remember. If I can recall it, I'll bring it up on another show because I'm gonna do a part 2 of this as well. And because I can't say I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm finna go through hell. But we sat there and I enjoyed. Man, that dance was huge. The dances. I mean, the game was amazing. I can't fully remember it, but I can remember it. And I'm like, wow. I remember just being amazed, but like seeing it before, but always seeing it always amazed me. I mean, we just had so much a good time. And talking to the different societies and everything else, I even got a chance to even fly to one of their places for a second. We went there, and it was like amazing how they populated every planet, every stone, every moon. It was like you could go there that quick. I'm like, wow. I was like, we will never get that in 666. It take this is the same iPhones since 2010. You hear me? Since 2010. They can do the same thing over and over. They can make a money off this later on. But in every time you come up with an idea here in 666, the rich shows up and take it and dumbfounds it, and then overcharge the price, and then neuters everything else. Or you have a house and they just raise the price. You cannot think that. It's amazing. I mean, it was just amazing. And I'm like, I mean, I just didn't want to. It was like it's like one of them trips. It was like a real vacation where you just didn't want to come back. There's no place like home. So you can keep home. That's what I was feeling. So, and then it was like, well, I was getting ready to leave because I had to go to Hill. So I'm going to go through Hill record. I'm not going to go into details. You want me to go into details? Let me know if you even finish this video. Let me know if you want me to go through Hill, which one you want me to go through first. Because I'm going to go through them anyway. Just I'm going to take my sweet time doing it. But anyway, when I came back, I was like, man, I think I just stay here. I ain't going back there. Shoot, I don't even know who went there. He said, well, you the one that volunteered. Why would I volunteer to come here? Well, we asked you. The three was talking to me. They really didn't say that. They could say something to me because they had like they were half flesh but half what you come. So they could talk to me, and I was like, why would I do that? But I volunteered. And I was like, why would I volunteer? Because we asked. We needed volunteers to go there, and it's getting kind of sketchy about who wants to go to 666. Many are afraid that they're going to be pretty much condemned going to that place. Some of the gods that were supposed to be rich gods, they've given up even going there. They said there's no way. It's no way. It's literally no way to succeed. And I was like, wow, it's got that bad here at 666. So you can wave goodbye. Well, how about a hug? She did this and she backed up. I was like, damn. Come on, man, let's get out of here. I don't want to go with you. So we're going anyway. And just like I thought, we were moving fast. We were moving so dark. I was like, God, can y'all at least spin and turn like she did? But I could see everything. It was like amazing, but it wasn't like something I did before. And we hit the black hole, but we didn't stop. We just ran right through the damn thing. Just kept going. I was like, shh, get there. So we got back to 666. And I could see the sun. It was like a little grain of sand all the way out there. We were like, just focus in on it. So I focused in. I could see. I was like, whoa, the sun. Wait, it was like right up on me now. I was like, wow. Yeah, just, man, stop clowning around, man. Stop being a mom. You know, like, man, cut it out, bro. You know, they just being dudes now. Well, we got the first 666 to go through. And this would be your first hail. We're gonna go through it for the average person. So we came down here, and I came up to this place. It was like this. It was like this house, and everybody was just having a party. And I walked in there. They were having a good time. I was like, "Are you all serious? You have this is hell?" They pretty much they were doing adult things all around the place and everything else. You got all this loud music. You doing all this. You will never get out there. And I'm just complaining and stuff. I can't remember what I was complaining about. But I remember this girl walking past me up under this dude's arm. She looked at me and rolled her eyes and kept on walking. And then this other guy walked up on me and he did like this. And I walked away and he just turned and walked away from me. I'm going through there and everybody's just doing all sorts of stuff around me. And then I walked back outside and the whole place was just black. I'm like, wow. And I just see these dogs running around. But they weren't real dogs. They were like mechanical creatures. And this guy was he was just walking around with a beard on, trying to shoot him, but his gun would never work. And the dogs would just stop there and stand in front of him. He would try to shoot him, but he couldn't shoot him. And I'm like, what is this? This is the first level of hell. Well, this is actually the weekend. So we're gonna hang around here till the work week starts. I said, why did you not come through the week? So I can get this done and get out of here. This place is eerie, it's black, it's dark. They look like they don't even matter. I mean, they in there with their couples. No, they're not. I said, what's going on in there? I'm not even going to go through this. Well, you're hearing 666 hells. 666 isn't evil. Okay, 666 is not evil at all. It's just, this is the hells of 666. These are the people in here that were those that did people wrong. Like those managers you see at a job that demote people and mistreat them, cut people's pay. And the rich didn't even tell them to do that. They do it anyway. These are the people right here that takes from others, cause trouble and mischief, even when they have. Okay, like when he said the manager, these are people that work with you, but cause mischief with you all the time. I don't know, that kind of hit home. These are the adulterers. Okay, these are the people. These are the husbands and wives that cheated on their mates and wouldn't stop. I said, don't tell them that back home. They'll say at the point now of the adult industry, they don't really necessarily come to heal. I said, how is that? They would not like that. They would not like hearing you say that. They would want you to agree with them that the adult. I said, people in the adult industry ain't going. Prostitutes are not going to hell either. They never cheated on anybody. That's just a job. And then he look at your hands, look at your feet. Ain't your arms and stuff hurt? But not right now. Don't they normally hurt? Yeah. You see, when you become fully back humanoid again, you will start feeling that pain from all them years of working. Aren't you working 14 hours a week? It's a job you wore out. You wore out too. I was like, wow. So these are all the people right here that are just adulterers. These people right here that pretty much trip other people up in their own lives. They messed up other people's lives. They ruined other people. These people right here in some type of physical voodoo and magic and stuff like that. They did things to others. These are people that took and stole from other people when they didn't even have to. See, a thief that steals an apple because he's hungry, it don't come to heal. These are thieves that took just because they thought it was funny. Just because they were trying to take something from somebody else. These are the people that mess with other men's homes and wives, took their food, messed with their children, raised their. I mean, they just did atrocious things. You don't want to go to the United States then because the United States says it's the right thing to do. No, you just don't ruin somebody's life and go on with yours. Well, I don't see like I don't too much seem like they're torn. It's like they're getting right what they want. You'll see. And when I did, because Monday came up, everybody was took to their own. They had this like this tiny house that each one of them lived in. Then no one was allowed to touch anybody else. You see? I was like, well, wow. So they can't mess with anybody now because they have to work. Work where? And before I knew it, we were flying to places where minerals was being taken. So the minerals we have here on this what we call Earth, that's where this stuff came from. See, God continuously build. All the gods and everything and the angels, they're continuously building and they have to it's like this, God has to make something from nothing. And when he makes nothing into something, it's a material. So he has to make plans to continuously produce this something like diamonds and copper and coal and stuff like that. These minerals, these what we would call rare earth minerals, are just minerals in general. Certain planets make it, and so they take the people from here to these planets to harvest this stuff, and they have to work. Let's just say out of a 24-hour day, they have to work pretty much 14 hours a day, 14 to 16 hours a day. I was like, man, they just like me. Are you sure I ain't here? So anyway, that's how you get close to here in the United States. And the thing is, you can do two jobs. Either you work the minerals or you become a comfort person. The comfort person is usually a woman. I know you're gonna get mad, but let me listen to me why. No one looks like this. Okay? Even in hell, you get your permanent body back. That means everybody looks pretty much like a model. Okay? Just like God. Stop drawing God with his beard and all and looking old. God does not look like that. I've seen an image of him. I just can't remember it. I remember he did not look old. He was like a shadowy figure too. But I was looking for the beard to wave or something. It never did. I did ask. I remember, like I said, I was going to recall. I'm recalling it now. God is not. Stop doing it. Okay, stop drawing him as an old man. Like I said, no one is wearing them drapes either. There was just the fashion of the people of the time here on earth. That's why Jesus was dressed in it. He is not dressed in it anymore. He wasn't dressed like that before he got there. He just dressed like that because everybody else was dressing like that. That's it. So I'm looking at them. I'm like, well, there was more men in there. Well, and then women was being tossed in there because nobody, the ones that no one wanted. I was like, well, they look like models as well, but nobody's just been picking them for some reason. So they have to work. So if they pick you, then all you have to do is just be their comfort for about an hour or so, and then you can go home. Other than that, you can't live with anybody. You can't live with anybody. They take that ability. And you may be saying, where's the typing job? Where's the office job? And my nails job. Duh. You work for angels. The angels do the cushy jobs. You do the slave jobs. You shouldn't screw people over. And that's all it is to it. I'm just saying. So we stayed there for about a week. Sons watching the same thing. Then they came up, and then they all was released to do their party because they did still, even though they were in the top level hill, they got their 2 days off. And so in the other levels, just bottom off to the point to where, so it gets worse. But we left that one, and then we went to the top level of the second. This is exclusively for thieves. These are people who stole from God. But I'm not going to say it's exclusive because others were there. These are those who stole from God. These are the ones that God gave all this wealth to, and they decided to keep it themselves. This place right here, I did recall how freaky it was. And I say how things were, but I'm going to have to tell you exactly how it was. And I was walking through there, and it was like, this kid said, I broke my bones over 100 times. And he looked at me like this and did this. And pointed in the direction, so we kept walking. And then it was eerie. Because I can't stand to hear this now because it reminds me of 1877 cars for kids. And they did this. And they did that. So we kept walking in that direction. And then walking further down, it was like I saw gods before with bomb. I seen these 3 girls sitting there with this big bowl of rice because they were all smiling about to feed everybody. and then it was all tore up, and they were all doing like this. They had their hands out, and then I had this piece of fruit in my hand, and they did this, so I kept walking. I was like, wait a minute, this is this stuff right here I be seeing on TV, and I was seeing orphanages, and I was seeing people and kids. I was seeing people getting ripped apart and their paws taken out of them. I was like, ugh. And then we came down to this place, and it was just, the ground was just an eerie blue. It was like an eerie whitish blue. And when you looked up, it was just dark. But it like had this eerie white cast to it. But you tell it was just black. And we just started walking through there. And like I said, it was like every other mile you can see a person just walking. They were stripped naked. They looked at like 22-year-olds, maybe 20, somewhere between 18 and 22-year-olds. And they just looked at healthy. They just walking around, and their wings was dripped over, and they were just walking. It was like something was tied to their wings, and they couldn't flip their wings. And I saw them. They were marked as beasts. When they put these on you, you're marked as a beast. This is not the mark of the beast. There is no mark of the beast. You're marked as a beast. And I saw them. I was like, wow. And we kept on. We walked for miles, and I just saw the same thing. I'm like, these women, the women that were naked, they were beautiful, but they looked like they just giving up. And I walked up to one. She said, "Just, I'm sorry. Just take everything. Just, I live poor. Just get me out of here." I was like, she can talk. They all can. Just walk up to him. I walked up to a guy and said, "I didn't mean it. I didn't know. They was just saying stuff like that. I didn't know that was God's stuff. I didn't mean to call him fluff. I didn't mean to call him names. I'm sorry. It's just, ugh. I don't know." And they were just saying, they almost was mumbling. I was like, well, what are they doing? They only get a mile. You get a mile to just walk around, but it's nothing there. I was like, what is this? Well, they accumulated so much wealth, they couldn't buy nothing. So we gave them nothing they could buy. Oh, that's terrible. I was like, that's terrible. And you will see some of them just sitting there, like at their edge, and another person at their edge. You're like, they were just, why are they just sitting near each other like that? But they're not near each other, because they're as far as they can get to someone. They can actually see the next person over there. So a lot of them just sit in these groups of fours. It's like the cubes are like this. The person's right there, and there's a person right there, and like that. And this is about as close as they can get to each other. So they just sit there. And I'm like, well, so they naked. It's cold. I said, these are thieves. These are also murderers too. The people that worked in the hospital, they're supposed to give you medicine that they did, or put the air bubble in somebody's tube. What? I said, this is what this place is for. People who stole, who kept stuff from. It's the stealing to keep it from. These are the grocery store owners that wouldn't see other people the food or give them enough food. That overpriced the food. That billions of dollars that wasn't theirs. That was God's. Just like me. God gave me you to teach you. So I'm supposed to keep you safe on this voyage and take you back home. I have to do what God said. God is a king. He sent those to do his bidding. That's why the God that you saw here up there, he was doing God's bidding. Okay, he's watching over this place. There's other gods here that's watching over this place too. 666 has a God, never speaks to anybody. No, he's not Satan. Satan is nowhere near here. Okay? 666 is not the mark of the beast. They mark you as a beast. And once they mark you as a beast, you're almost done for unless you turn your ways around. Some people have turned their ways around and got out of it, but God is not going to forgive you on your dying day because you confessed on your dying bed. You should have stopped when you had the chance to. When you first did wrong and you realized, ooh, that was wrong. I don't want to do that again. That's when you're supposed to stop. So we came to this place where there was a whole bunch of blankets and pillows. I was like, what is this? Blankets and pillows. Who they belong to? Why somebody leave? Maybe you should probably give it to them. With them thieves and murderers, they even murdered your dad. Remember? They hit home then, because I remember what happened. I was like, They thought I didn't see it, but I saw it, and I was like, And they also did my brother the same way. I bit my lip, and I thought about it. I was like, well, oh. And they said, will you pass these out? I'm gonna pay what I'm gonna pass them out for. That's the first thing I see. I was actually about to just walk away from it. Well, God actually sent them this to give it to them. What you said, it's actually cold here, isn't it? Yeah, it really is chilly. I said, why would God give me this to pass out? Why he just give it to you? Because we can't touch it unless you tell us to. I don't know how many people did come through here that didn't pass these out. Everybody. I mean, literally everybody. No one passed them out. I said, well, I'm gonna pass them out for the end. And then I thought about it. I said, well, who God got to pass these out? He said, you. Why not the rest of them? Because they didn't do it. Do you know what these people did? Because my mind is searching now, because I know they did some wrong stuff. Don't you know how many people starved? Don't you know how many people did without? Don't you know how many? You know something? They said that little girls don't need $3. Well, what the hell are these rich people doing with $3 trillion? You know, they don't even pay. I'm mad. I'm completely just coming back to me, and I'm complaining. People got more money than governments. Yeah, do what government's supposed to do. Take care of everybody. And they just said, well, I ranted. I'm not gonna cut the rant there. I don't want to get too into it. I'm just going off, and I'm saying, and you know something? It looked like they got what they deserved. And then I looked at them, and they told me, said, well, you can leave. You don't have to give it to me. You don't want to. Now, give me the blankets. You finna give them the blanket. Give me the blankets and the pillows. Why? Because God said something. God said, do his stuff, so I'm going to do it. He said, pastors would come through here and say, they deserve what they get. But you are giving them this because, well, God said so. God knows better than I am. Okay, I'm quite sure bad things happen to God. And just because bad things happen to me and my family, that don't mean I should take it out on everybody. Okay? Well, you want to know who did it? Nah, don't worry about it. So I got the blankets and I passed them out. And then they got the blankets passed me. And then all of a sudden the blankets just start flying up and start going to everybody. I was just give them as many as they want. And it was like, it was nothing but like a stack of 5, but somehow there was a whole lot of blankets. And then I started thinking about the bread and the water. And I said, well, you know something? And you know something? I kind of like, are they okay now? Do I have anything else to do with them? No, you really can't go over there and talk too much. I said, well, what we gonna do? We're gonna sit here for a while? Yeah, we're gonna sit here for a while. So I sat there for a while. They didn't say anything. It was an eerie place. Really wasn't nothing to say. It was so dreary there. But I did see them covering up in their blankets. They looked like they even had smiles on their face. Some of them even built them up a little bed and everything else and stuff like that. They were just happy to have that. And I was like, well, you just would have just gave the people that what stuff God gave them. You wouldn't even be here. And then we stayed there for a couple of days. If you want me to talk more about this place, I will, just let me know. I'm going to talk about it later on anyway, probably around Christmas or something, when I get a chance to. But I'm trying to move on because this video is really long, and I got one last thing I got to do. And this one is for basically the governments of the world. When I went down to this place, wow, is all I can say. It was like this place was a survival. This is where all the kings and queens and presidents, governors and mayors and stuff, they were thrown in there. And what they would do, they continually kept trying to take from others. I don't understand what was going on, but they were constantly killing each other and then coming back alive. And I was like, why are they doing this? And they were like, because they kept killing folks and coming back to life. And they would take life and continue to kill. They would continuously just put these crazy experiments on everybody. And I was like, well, I was stuck for words. And they said, do unto others as God will have them do unto you. I said, well, one thing, sure, we don't need to get close to them. Uh-uh. All I just hear was yelling. I seen dismemberment. I would see people. I would look over there and I would see, what is that? It was like nothing but lungs and liver and hearts and stuff. You said that's the person right there that kept on they kept on cutting up people's organs and putting them in their self. And like, the birds are eating. What type of birds? And like I said, the birds are coming. Well, he did this, and the bird came close. It wasn't a real bird. It was like some type of mechanical monster or something. And I was like, why you got these mechanical monsters? I said, because we're not going to use real animals that we torment. We're going to torment them. This is the people that God had enough of. They destroyed everything. Caused massive amounts of wars. Always picked fights. You just can't stop. War after war after war. I was like, man, this is terrible. That was the first one that actually said was actually terrible. He said the last one would come first. So you said these are all the people that sent people to war for no reason at all. A lot of these wars was just fought just because somebody wanted to see something and they're laughing. I said, oh my God, they have scheduled a war for 2027. We are in trouble. And they are too. They don't even realize it. They'll never realize it. These are the ones that'll never see the light of day again. They wouldn't stop. They just kept on. They've murdered so many children, people. They'll do this in heaven. They'll murder the children in heaven. They'll murder women and men in heaven. They would tear the relationship. These are the people that broke up marriages in the whole country. Wow. And I'm like, is every country here? He said, no. He said, you all actually have 3, maybe 4 countries that the government has actually excelled, and we are proud of. It's just they just don't have the means to become a level 3 society or level 2 society, even bring the society up. But they do treat the people very well. Matter of fact, it's several of them that wants to do better, but they just can't. And these people here are the ones that caused all of it, all that misery. I said, well, I don't have nothing. You don't go close. This is the first one. See, the other one, they sit me close to them to talk to them or say something or even give them something. But this one, they said, stay away. I ain't gonna argue with you. I was like, if I went back and told them that, they would just say, it ain't never fluff. They just start reciting everything that they go say. I don't believe it. So what? And I'm like, why do you need all this stuff? Even the government now, some of the government officials, what do you need? Why do you need all of this stuff? And they don't care. And they're all running down. They're just fighting, arguing, and ripping things apart. Some of them say, I had it all. I had this castle in the sky. And I'm going to tell you about this. This is going to be the next one that comes, maybe in a week or this week. I had this castle in the sky, and it was all your fault. If it was for you all, they were blaming each other for everything. I could be living in the castle. I could have my own sector, and I could there could be a god over, and it was because of you all that wouldn't try to take everything. They were so infuriated with each other that they were just constantly ripping each other apart over and over again. That's how much fear that they had. But we got out and we left, which I was so happy. That was the worst. Like I said, I never seen fire except for on the first one when they had to work, and they had to work getting these materials out. So heaven isn't about fire. Heaven is about fire. The first 2 that I told you can get out of eventually. A lot of them was repenting, so they're gonna get out. But that last one, the last one I told you about, what they did was so repulsive, God can't look at them anymore. So the final place we had went was Abraham bosom. And I know your pastor probably jumped up. I knew it was a lie. Jesus cleared out Abraham bosom. He cleared it out. He never closed it. He just cleared it out, and then the others come in there. Like all of us who are good in God's eyes. Okay, we're going there first. We all stop at Abraham bosom to where this skin will come off, and we'll be like we were. But Abraham bosom is a rehabilitation. So that means you're going to be reunited with, let's just say, your heavenly family. They're going to come here and help you through your rehabilitation, and then you'll be there when this mess that they caused on this planet is cleared out of you. Then you get to leave. So I sat there but I could, but my family, it was just us three guys just sitting there talking. They're just talking about the games and stuff like that, and about what's going on. I'm constantly checking to make sure I ain't had that mark of the beast on me. make sure I ain't get the mark of the beast on me somewhere, because I don't want to mark me as a beast. So I'm just thinking about that. And they asked me, they laughed, and I told them. And so we sat there, we fished. We actually was able to watch some more games and stuff like that. It was like a calm place. We was in this house just chilling. It was like, almost like a frat house. We was just sitting around chilling and jiving and going on. We played some video games. These video games I really like. It wasn't like this too big stuff we got here where everything is cut. All the scenes are put in there. All the splitting blowhead scenes all the way up to the kissing scenes and kissing and what that leads to scenes. All that was put in there. No one was there to cut or nag. There was no one nagging or complaining or causing fusses and fights over anything. So we was just sitting there. And I was like, this ain't half bad though, right here, to be honest with you. This is better than I was. They looked at me and said, Joe, you look like you calmed all the way down. Huh? Calm down about what? Oh, well, about time for you to go, why I gotta leave here? Said, because it did. I see what with Abraham Boozman. It got the hell out of my system. Because when I went through here, I was getting dark and I was frustrated. Real frustrated. I didn't tell you in full detail everything I went through. I couldn't remember all, but I could recall, but I could constantly recall it. But anyway, we sat there and we chilled for a little bit longer. I remember that they cooked up some food, we ate it, and then we zipped back here, where I'm at right now, telling you the story. They're always watching. There won't be another Satan. That's why God doesn't say anything. There's a reason he doesn't say anything. 666, that's me, that's you, that's everybody. This is our sector. We're in sector 666. It's not evil. It's like the swastika. It was never evil from the beginning. It was only evil because people decided to make it evil. Because they decided to do some crazy ritual that didn't mean anything. They decided they're just bringing people into their group and pushing everybody back. So that's the journey on how to get to 666. You can ask yourself, don't take my word for it. Ask yourself. Okay? Clean your life up and clean your mind out. Drink your beer. Smoke your cigarettes. Take your chew. And enjoy life. Because there's nothing evil until they make it evil. If you overdrink, then yeah. If you oversmoke, then yeah. Then you over chew, yeah. But as long as you chew, drink, and smoke respectfully and responsibly, it's not a problem. Even when it comes to the adult industry, you can watch adult entertainment. Okay. As long as you ain't breaking something off. I mean, a lot of people just sit there and just watch it. They never even get aroused by it. They just watch it because they just watch it. But even to the governments of the world, they just want to go to fight. They want to fight in everything. But that's how it is. So this is the truth. We're just in sector 666. There's nothing evil about it. It's not the mark of the beast. All they're gonna do when you are marked as a beast, it's gonna be like this. Come with me. That's what it's gonna be. You're marked as a beast, that you're unsafe for heaven. You're unsafe for the relatives of heaven. Okay, you're most definitely unsafe to be around God. You will do something terrible. And once you get that mark on you, you can get it off with time served. They'll try it again in another place until they're just so fed up with you that you're just not worth anything. So that's the truth about 666. So leave your comments if you want to leave comments. If you made it to the end, okay, you skipped around. Tell me what you want me to focus on and recall, and I'll do my best to focus on and recall. Like I said, everybody who tells a story, the stories don't never come up the same. Okay. Because I'm recalling. Everybody has to recall. You can come over here with your gotcha questions if you want to. That's fine. I'll do my best to answer the gotcha questions too. But this is 10th Yen. Thanks for coming out.